Do you think video format is the future, or what's?
So obviously, like Facebook went 5 years down the line, towards like what is the next engagement, right? We went from text to photo to video, and so then they're saying next is virtual reality. And I mean, obviously, you're in Praxis too, and a lot of the mindset there is meetverse over metaverse, where a virtual reality future is non-optimal towards human vitality and like way of life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you take that route, you go down a rabbit hole. I mean, I don't know if you've thought this deeply about it, but I think if you take that route, you'd go down a rabbit hole where essentially you're going down a more engaging rabbit hole. And eventually, as we create better technologies to essentially manifest thought into reality, we then, like, it continues the cycle of rebirth, of life and death. So you have to stop the ability to be godlike in order for eternity or one life to continue. This is like super deep concept shit that I've thought a lot about, but you know, it's like we don't really know what the fuck this is, and so it's
like this being
like just reality. So it's I like to think about possibilities or ways, you know, that we're on a trend. Like if you just think about it scientifically, we've been on a trend since the dawn of man with inventions of things which help us manifest thoughts into reality. And so if that continues, then it's almost like the Alan Watts quote, if you can dream any dream you would want, eventually you would dream the very thing you're living right now. And so in that same sense, I feel like if we continue reaching towards points of being able to have a capability to like imagine and then live any reality, like a full Neuralink stack implant. There's one YouTube video that's super good about it called "This Thought Experiment Will Change Your Life," I think it is. Or it's
I think I've heard of this,
The Thought Machine, something like that. Pursuit of Wonder. You watch the channel?
I've like seen, like it always pops up.
Fire. I'm in one of the videos.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I did a top Patreon thing, so you get to be in the video. It's just like the caricature looks somewhat like me. And I had him put a little infinity symbol on my neck. But yeah, that one is the one where it's like, I don't know if you've seen it, it's like, do you want to, the guy asks, essentially he goes on stage, has the best like thing ever, then he talks to this other guy who was presenting this machine that would allow people to live any life they wanted. And then the guy's like, do you think people would really want that? Do you think that that's best? And he's like questioning it. And then the guy goes, well, do you want to exit right now? And he's like, you programmed this moment into this reality. And this is your one chance. So, do you want to exit or you chill?
Exit this reality.
Yeah.
To like.
Are you good to continue? Would you like to press escape?
Yeah, that's. I mean, obviously that's a very interesting question, right? Like, if you could just like leave whatever you have right now and just be anything you wanted, right? I think.
Yeah. Who knows it? Well, at least in the video thought experiment, it was you had like a life back there, but you're old. You really didn't achieve anything.
Oh, so this is like at the end of your life.
This is like you were a nobody.
Yeah.
You then used this machine in order to be a somebody. In order to be one of the main characters. No. A crappy person who just was a sideline and made it to the end, you know?
Yeah.
And then that's what he's saying is like, this, like but you wanted this one moment to give yourself the option because you didn't know how you would feel. So here it is. Interesting. Would you like to go back? I think the answer to me is obvious of like saying no.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, cause like for people who like have things like set, or like people who like already have like visions or paths, and the path that they're on is that path, like do you think they would subscribe to that? Like do you think anyone would leave whatever they have to take on another life if they already know? Like it seems like, for example, like you have like some sort of vision in your head about like where you want to go with life and things.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, for me personally, for example, like I do have some sort of vision too, but at the same time, obviously I'm not perfect, right? Like I have like my own struggles and everything.
Nobody's.
But at the same time, it's like I wouldn't trade my life, right? Like I know like I'm gonna have to do things to overcome my own struggles, and that'll help me get to where I want to be. So
Yeah, I would say like previously, when I was younger, I did. The debate always came up. I guess I used this against my friends I remember it during like the Justin Bieber phase. He was first getting popular, and as a male, it was supposed to be like weird to listen to him.
Yeah.
And then when people were just shitting on him as other guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, like any one of us would trade our lives for his. Which is like somewhat of the same question.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I think like now I don't have as much of that feeling of like I'm more excited to see how this character plays out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm invested in the story.
Yeah,
Back then though, I was, just another chump kid. Didn't have as much big dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like prior, I guess, in life to having gone through a phase of depression, which I feel like is actually like a monumental step for a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's some quote about that of to go through and face the essential facts of life, obviously then turns someone into more of a well thought out, or having more depth, right, to your thought. If you're able to go through the motions, it's nice.
Yeah.
It's like ignorance is bliss. But it also, that's called that's another Pursuit of Wonder video, the Amara effect, the advantage of disadvantages, which would be depression is a disadvantage at the time, but then I think becomes an advantage.
Yeah.
Having built
character, right?
resilience, yeah, you build thought forms which act as like shields against bad vibes. Is how I think about it. Like I think of all thoughts and all information as vibe packets in the world, which then shape our identity. Which is why I have the obsession with the social media and the platform right now, which is like my idea is maximize impact, maximize my ability to change and shift the timeline towards utopia and not death of mankind.
Yeah.
And so when thinking about that, what is the optimal route? It's you ever read Tim Urban? Wait, but why?
Tim Urban, yeah.
Hell yeah. So human colossus shit?
I haven't read that. No.
Oh, you just know the name.
I've like, he like posts about like Elon and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I've read, yeah.
Okay, so you saw he did one called Neuralink in the Brain's Magical Future. That was.
I haven't read that one. No, I've read the SpaceX one and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Neuralink one's pretty nutty.
Is it okay?
Yeah. No. And he's so good at like breaking down crazy ass concepts.
Yeah.
With those like just nice cartoon drawings.
Yeah. Like his posts, like even like he like posts like small like.
I'm thinking, imagine if you do a good production company and have those posts turned into videos.
Oh, that would be.
Yeah, that's actually something I think I have somewhere in the to-do sheets deep, because I have a lot of different.
Yeah.
He does like content stuff, and he's like running some of the team for editing. But we have just like so many different things to make. That's obviously one where we're basically ripping his content.
Yeah.
I just want it to be made because I want to like. Now, it's even harder to get people to read those than it was when I feel like when I first read them even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like the world's more and more distracted.
I just had like a conversation earlier yesterday with someone about like, do you think people want like short form content, or do you think like people like do that because of their constraints and they feel like, oh, like I have a limited amount of time, so I have to like, if I'm gonna watch something, I'll just watch this short video.
Yeah.
But if I had all the time, I would like do longer form content, or like if I had time, instead of going to a fast food restaurant, I would
Yeah.
Spend time cooking and eating.
Yeah, I thought a lot about that because obviously I was like my entire bet was on the fact that you could make a YouTube for mobile video, in which TikTok was more so just the shorts. And I still think that's very viable. That's now just a sphere. We're calling them spheres in the social verse. So Flick is now just like one category of those longer videos. Because I think you should be able to sort, hey, I only want to see videos that are above 5 minutes. So then when you're scrolling, you're not going to get just the super short form stuff, which is a different type of content. Like the medium is the message. And then the other type of things that play into how, I guess, the video economy emerges is the fact that like mobile video recently blew up because of TikTok. So TikTok opened that door up for creators to spend more time, because people only spend time based on the things that they think rationally are going to be worth it. So once you create that platform, you create a lot more people who are filming more videos with their phone for these direct purposes, filming skits, like they're doing for YouTube. And people who are native to YouTube aren't going to make the switch. Plus TikTok, since it started as short form, that algorithm and its user base has an expectation of that. And so there's a bigger difficulty for a fast food shop to turn into a restaurant. Because when someone goes to McDonald's, they expect a quick McDouble, and if you say, or you go to a candy store and they're like, hey, we also have a salad menu, it just doesn't like make sense, right? We separate our office room from this room the same way we separate our digital spaces. That was the kind of idea behind, hey, even if TikTok goes longer format, we have something here because we're restricting ourselves and removing fast food from the menu. But then thinking even bigger than that, it's like, why even just have that? But yes, I think that's organically, like, it's so funny. There's there's a podcast with Lex Friedman and Kevin Seidstrom, founder of Instagram, where they just directly basically pitch the Flick app, where they're like, it's mobile video, there's a disruption in social every 4 years, and then they're like, there's something really different between a 15-second video, a 60-second video, and like a 5-minute video. And that was funny. That was like one of our first edits we made of just like, they see it. Which I'm really surprised by the lack of like competition in this space. I do think it's something of the matter of either this is a programmed reality where I was destined to do this and I made it easy for myself, or like it's something so grand to kind of tackle social, right? That just not actually a lot of founders go after it. Because it's funny, like social is used far more than gaming, but you have just way more competition in the gaming sphere. Like social makes up over 50% of all app usage. Gaming, I think, is like 20, but 80% of things that are uploaded to the app stores are games, and like 4% is social. Also, on top of that, for developers, it's more fun to build a game than it is to build a social platform. So, lots of different things that change these metrics, but it's interesting. If you can understand all the patterns, you can think about what's inevitable. And then I like to think of as businesses. I steal this from Mithro Capital, which I think I told you I met that guy. Turns out it wasn't the guy, it's literally a doppelganger. But every great business is a time machine that deterministically pulls the future forward. It's like, this thing will exist, this business existing is just making it exist sooner via one seeing that future and then creating it. Rohan AJ, I think is the name, funded by Peter Thiel. They killed it. It's like a fund that backs very like crazy deep tech shit. Just like shit that's like, this might work, this is super early stage, this founder's a nut job, so we're gonna give him some money and see what the fuck he does.
Interesting, just wondering, are you like planning on like recording for like Flick, and like what's like the, I guess, like, yeah, I was just wondering like what the.
Yeah, I assumed and looked forward to having a fun conversation too. And I feel like sometimes, like one really valuable thing I've found is sometimes in these conversations, ideas obviously spring.
Yeah.
The seeds of ideas.
Definitely.
And when you can capture the seed of an idea and then show later
Yeah.
it existing, that's super fun.
Yeah.
That's really good storytelling, right? So and I also just believe in documenting shit, right? It's like, why not grab that data?
Yeah.
I personally soaked up way too much of like Elon Musk videos. I guess not way too much. I just like loved doing that.
Yeah.
But there's obviously just like not a lot of content him when he was younger.
Yeah.
And I follow like an ethos of be who you needed when you were younger, because I believe I will be someone, or I'm striving to be someone, and so I'm gonna base my actions off my future beliefs of being someone credible to that nature.
Yeah.
Then I would love to sort of one, see for myself how my own mindset and things changed over time, but also allow other people to see a lot of the failures or the things where I was wrong or where I evolved, and like tell a authentic story too. And some of this shit like randomly, well, you can hack YouTube for one just by like botting some of the views. You can SEO hack it for pretty cheap. So sometimes you can just throw a cool title on something, and you tend to, when you do that with like a unique enough title, you can get a very high quality group.
Yeah.
Because only people who are searching that are of a certain like wavelength, and thus that's very valuable. Which is somewhat of what Praxis instantly provides too, is a kind of filter system for hyper intelligence, just higher intelligence, unique thought, etc. But yeah, I think that's another portion of it. Are you building something?
Right now, I am working on a couple projects, but yeah, like mostly just like it's personal projects right now, like just kind of warming up, mostly in the sphere of like either like city design sort of things, transportation and space. So I think those are the fields I'm very interested in. Obviously somewhat inspired by Elon too. Like I did read his biography and everything too, but in a way like originally too, like when I was like earlier on in college, like kind of like the goal was like, oh, like to work at like Tesla or SpaceX and like get to kind of see like the man himself and like, you know, get to work on the cool projects that he's working on, and ended up doing both, but probably not going back to either SpaceX or Tesla, just because I think definitely his visions are amazing, and he has this whole grandiose plan basically that like, you know, even the people working there don't know. But at the same time, it's like at a certain point, when you like find what you want to do and what like you strive to make an impact in, it's like you want to make your own dreams a reality other than someone else's dreams a reality too.
Right.
So it's
There's the difference between the chef and the cook.
Yeah.
Which is actually something that like I preach to him and the other guys here, is directly like, hey, right now we're doing this. This is gonna unlock the ability for you guys to do whatever you want. Your goal is to replace yourself. And then when that thing comes, we have all the resources in the world, and just like helping you get there. Because I think that's a unique, like, to be living with employees too, you have to develop a friendship. You don't want to like, I treated it like a business more so early on. And that's like toxic somewhat. And then you obviously want to treat your homies how you should, and that's this weird thing as like a business owner where I feel like that's part of the reason why there's a lack of push for entrepreneurship, is because actually as a boss, it's very negative of you to basically shit on the idea of why would you work a job your whole life? You're not going to say that when you have tons of employees who you need to commit their life to that job. Like, that would be very smart. So I feel like obviously we see in the world like a lack of the amount of founders. Educational system obviously doesn't push it. There's culturally the stigma of risk, which then makes it super opportunistic though to actually then be a founder because of the supply and demand pool.
True,
So
it's whole, everyone wants to be a founder, but not everyone is putting in the work to be one, right? So
exactly.
Definitely. I think like our education systems too, right? Like you're mentioning, they don't incentivize that, right? Like it's people who like, I know I heard like you ended up dropping out, right? Like I think that's like, you know, you at one point you realize like, oh, like, and even me, I'm realizing right now is like, oh, like at least for the path I'm going down, like academics is not the number one thing, right? Like it's, you don't get as much value from that as like other areas of your life that you could be putting in that same amount of time in, right? So it's, for me, it's like, oh, like I have less than a year left, so it's like most likely I'm gonna see it through just because like it makes sense, but maybe not. You know, who knows? Who knows? After this summer, maybe not. But
no, that's sort of like what we're doing this summer here. And this was the original plan with this house, but I had to like spend a lot of time setting up the core of Flick and the team and everything. But now we're at a point where more of my time is freed up, and now the ecosystem becomes more valuable. But what we're going to do is basically run this powerhouse model, which is going to be founders come, they either have an idea or are thinking of one. I had a ton of businesses that were like starting. I've been running a venture studio model. So that's like find founders, utilize the team, help them build. And then with the house ecosystem, like bring in, do pitch competitions in the theater and everything. So that's the plan for actually this summer here. And that's like pretty exciting for me. Cause that's what I like. That's what I love. I don't know if you know Launch House, pretty cool concept, but it's way less like hands-on. More of just like pay, you're there for a month, pull up. No help in actually creating the thing. I think that's like a cool differential. Because a lot of times now, like the biggest arbitrage and leverage you can hit, and it's crazy, but you know, take anyone with some good background or story to match to an idea, a nice pitch deck, a little bit of speech training, and a good website, and then you can go get $1 million in a couple months. Right?
It's like, that's
at like an $8 million valuation or something. I mean, my friend did it in 3 months, left fast. He was an early designer, so that helped. He joined Beyond Deck, so that helped. But anyone can do these things. He is smart and a great talker, so those things helped. But yeah, he raised $2 million. And that's like, his value then went up 10 mil on paper, which is ridiculous. He's not worth that much, which is then where like the idea comes in for having a founders college will, I think, undoubtedly exist. I just got founderscollege.xyz.
Oh, so that's the.
I would like to create that.
What's the scale you're envisioning this in? Like what's?
So I think the future of the world, Elon Musk himself is continuing to display the ability to become a bigger conglomerate. That's already the way the world has worked. It's just been way less transparent, right? You already have those types of companies which own basically everything else and are the ecosystem companies. Historically though, because company duration has been a lot longer, that's where you were able to basically have bigger holding companies just buy out the smaller thing, and this is worthwhile. As we continue to basically have disruption faster and faster, that increases not only the speed at which you can, create a new conglomerate, but also the ability to create unicorns. Obviously, way more are being created recently.
Yeah.
Not just because of inflation, like if you rate it for that too, just because technology has so much capability to disrupt incumbent systems. So I think the venture studio model, to me, will be the birth of the next Unilevers, etc. Already some of the best ones, like rate all of them together. Their go-to-market to like IPO is twice as fast, on average double the return of a standard just venture capital firm. You see all the venture capital firms basically slowly becoming a studio. Now they're all adding like, we're human capital, we provide recruitment. We're X, we're a Web3 one, we provide token, contract this. You know, you're just seeing them add service layers, and I think and then you see some studios partnering with each other who complement each other. But I think the future is like one mega business conglomerate who really figures out how to democratize workforce and flow it through in an ideas creation machine. And that will be very public. Right now, like with what Musk is, I think there will be a Musk 2.0. And
in like what sense, I guess, like
in a sense of like
what he's doing, or like just like another figure like that.
A figure like that, and I think the differential is he's like, because he started as like, I'm Tesla CEO, I'm this CEO. I think the next will be a derivative up, which will be, you know, I have the ideas and visions, and I have created the system and corporation, which then allows us to create the visions profitably. So then that specific company becomes its own sort of investment class, which is the ability to turn the dollars into value, is what you're scaling. And so companies are like one derivative down from then the venture studio goes a derivative up. If you think of like incremental games, you ever play those?
No, not much, no.
Sure.
I don't play many games.
Yeah. It's a certain type of game, which like I think like planted this form of thinking in for me, which is just, you create one thing, that thing creates X.
Like a factory sort.
Yeah. X creates, per one X you have, it creates one Y per second. So if you buy Z, it creates one X per second. And so obviously, if you buy the top layer and it starts exponentially increasing more. So that's the venture studio goes one layer above a CEO of a business, but a business builder.
Yeah, because when you first mentioned like Founders College, I was trying to see like what's the differentiator between something like this and like YC, except people like live together in the same place, right? But
yeah, that's Powerhouse. I'm not sure the Founders College, actually what exactly it looks like, what best frame it takes.
because this is Powerhouse.
Yeah. Will become it.
Will become it
this summer. But the Founders College, I think like, you know, Theo Fellowship. Yeah. Somewhat like that, but more so like, imagine rather than going to college in a curriculum, or even, you know, doing this over a summer, I think is where we're going to get the first big groups, because it doesn't risk missing a semester. So you have a lot of like, you pass the psychological stage, but if you do it very publicly and show a lot of success from the initial cohort batches, you could essentially then pitch to students, take one semester off, take a year off, try to make your hopes and dreams a reality. By that time, if you haven't raised the funds that allow you to pay, not only own a good portion of a company, but get paid a salary from it that's greater, or at least what you would get with your STEM job or whatever degree you were looking to get, then why would you not chase that future? And so for us then as a company, you have someone like Tom, and we can look at Tom from a business perspective side, and we can find Tom working his job at Fast. We can say, Tom, you know, we help people create visions. We want to pay you the same exact amount you have. We want to give you we want to build the company basically for you. We have all these resources, all the network. We're going to pay you more than you're getting paid right now. And what you do there is you think of it from the fund perspective, who spent $2 million in order to get 16%. $2 million with hiring Tom gives you over 10 years of runway of Tom's salary. Still, the same amount of money used for the business to be created, but you own 90% of it. So it's simply a better model, and your only expenditure, you're basically getting $8 million worth more of value. And so as long as it costs you less than $8 million to find the Toms, basically de-risking the process. Right now, the most valuable thing in the world is a person to take the risk to become a founder. So as a company, if you can scale de-risking, then you capture that value, which is the most valuable resource.
Basically, how do you find this Tom?
I think internet. I think with Powerhouse, stuff like this will be helpful. Of potentially getting this on like HBO Max, Amazon Prime TV, that sort of thing. If it's very public, obviously Shark Tank has unlimited deal flow, right?
Yeah.
Any bits of success that you have big companies that come out of it. It's attention, right? It all just takes attention. Initially now we have some influencers in the house, so I have them post stories basically to test different models every now and then too, to see how many applicants we get for things. We did one called California Creators Institute, which basically like there's no creator school right now, right? Just like that should exist. It'd be good if Socialverse owns the creator school too. Yeah, that would be helpful.
So you see Socialverse as like owning like this powerhouse, like the founders college.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pitch it to the investors in that way.
No way, yeah.
So I don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
Probably if my time allocation became too great.
Yeah.
Because like I'll work full time on Socialverse, but I don't like not do work.
Yeah.
Because I just think of life as a video game, so it's like, it's play to me, I guess. It can be stressful, but.
I mean, video games are stressful too, right?
Yeah. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
So in that sense, yeah, I would have to like step down from CEO.
Yeah. Or
if I am just like, hey, this is going to be a lot easier if I just give you a piece of everything for the future and put it all under the Socialverse umbrella. Then I think that's similar to what Bezos did with Amazon.
Yeah.
He built the conglomerate all under the Amazon.
Yeah, I guess I was just
Musk took a more separated approach.
That's what I was wondering, like, like Alphabet, for example, right? They have like many different products under it, but then in a sort of way, like they all like integrate into to like a bigger ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, these all sound like like they could be related, but I'm wondering, like, are they just gonna be like spheres or like circles within your Socialverse? Like, is like Powerhouse gonna be like?
We'll definitely have a sphere for it, for like the content.
Yeah.
But obviously not every business deserves a sphere.
Yeah.
You know, it would be useful. Socialverse is doing very well. We have a sphere for startups. We can put our startups in the lead there. Same way the major benefit from YC is, boom, it's gonna get funded. So the YC investment is an instant profit. They're profiting gargantuan amounts because any one of them coming out of there are at least a 20 mil valuation. YC is getting a $1.2 million valuation. So they're instantly like 15xing their money.
I think YC is interesting though, right? Because people have been complaining about the larger batch sizes that are.
Yeah. Now they're becoming too big.
Yeah.
Happens.
It's like as a founder, it's like it used to be like you wanted.
You got
to be,
real mentorship. Yeah.
Yeah, and you wanted to be part of like YC, and now it's like
Yeah.
Are you getting as much value out of it? Like maybe not, right?
Right.
And it's,
which is just to show, I think, how the fact that someone can be like, oh no, 125K for 7% of my startup and getting a ton of mentorship is like, that's not a good deal. Just goes to show how like these guys have nothing, right? You're saying that when you don't even have a product or business or anything. You're like, no, I can't give up my idea for that. So it just kind of goes to show how cracked being a founder is, I think, in the market today. Because people can even look at that and be like, oh, that's gross. And because you can have these big batch sizes go through YC, and like the median fund is like 20 mil. Like if you go through YC, you're gonna get funded if you don't ask for something astronomical, you know? You will have someone hand you a check because you went through YC.
really, even now,
I believe so. I wouldn't say that with like 100% confidence, but from the data I consume, mainly through Twitter, I guess, though. So I guess it's not like solid. It could be overhyped with the memes, you know.
Yeah.
I've seen memes about like the YC checks. You went to Harvard, went to YC, take my money type beat.
You have your call, 5 minutes.
Oh, word. How'd you join the Prax?
How did I join?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually researching DAOs one night, like last year, and it was like really interesting. What is this all about? And then somehow found Praxis, and then someone I knew was in it, so I like reached out to them, talked to them about it, and then they were like, oh yeah, like it's an interesting project. You should.
That's cool.
Yeah, you should apply it.
Yeah, I love, bro, when we got the dog tag, it said meet me in the Eternal City. I was like, it's so fire. Dope.
It's a big visions win nowadays because people's like we have magic in our hands, so we can imagine the magic that can exist in the future. The ability to organize and build community and accumulate capital to take on these big ideas is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think Dogecoin is one great example of that. I've never had more things in front of me where I'm like, if I dedicate my time to, like, I see like 4 different things where I'm like, if I just only spend my time here, this is like guaranteed becoming a unicorn.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean,
which is like crazy in a sense.
especially with like Web 3.0 and like all the hype around it, I think. But
the ability to hack finances through there right now, so undertapped. That's one thing I'm like, one of the reasons I'm excited for the Powerhouse thing is I really would like to take some of these, like, I put it in my notes. I continue writing on some of my favorite ones of like, here's the exact way that you make this win and scale. And I just want to, some of the applicants did select, like, I don't have an idea yet. And so I'm like, if I can,
if you just convince them to.
if I take a half-witted person, you know, I can really take them there. No, I don't want the half-wits.
But I guess like what do you stand to gain from this, right? Like this is like a great idea. It's like has the potential to be a unicorn, you know, and you have someone, you give someone that idea, you basically give them the unicorn status, right? Like what are you to?
So the venture studio model is typically we're going to help you build it too. We're going to take you along the process and own.
We're gonna cut.
It ranges from what equity percent that is, you know, and taking the model on early of like hey, we're going to give you a salary bigger than what you're making right now, then makes it so if you're saying like you also get 10% of the company, that's seen as the value add, right? Rather than if someone comes with an idea and you're like, we want 90% of your company, that's obviously a terrible deal.
It is a terrible deal, yeah.
Which helps to, I think, understand that position of like, it really is just the mindset switch, which is the most valuable thing of like, I'm going to build X.
So you're
versus
taking
the idea is to find people who
smart people who like are
who
working.
are planning to go to a job or in a job,
Yeah.
who have some entrepreneurial dreams,
Yeah.
which is plentiful.
So
So many people
yeah.
in job. One day I'll start a business. One day I'll start a business.
No.
I need my financial security.
Yeah.
My oldest brother right now makes great money at Google. Now, if he left Google for 3 months, would he have way more money and to fund his startup? Yes, but is it terrifying to do that and take those 3 months?
It is.
Yes.
And you
Is there right now some sort of fund or thing going after those people, offering them more than they're making, and then taking a large percentage of whatever idea they're going to build?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Would that be profitable? I think quite obviously.
No, yeah, I think
so that's like a model.
I think I understand more like where you're coming from. I think like just knowing people in general that like I feel like like people would at first they would be like, oh yeah, this sounds like a great idea, like I'd make more money than like I would ever do working at Facebook, for example. They would join in, but I feel like eventually always people want more and more, right? And it's like they're like, damn, like you guys like took so much, like like literally like I put in all the work, but then like you're like, wait, hold on a second, like I gave you the opportunity first, right? But then people are still gonna find a way to be upset because they're like they feel like robbed, even though like initially you gave them a better opportunity, right? So that's
yes and no. I can see that. I think there could be some feeling of it.
Yeah.
But I think you could mitigate that by being very giving in terms of like, yeah, you earned another 5% of equity, which if they've made the company quite large, that 5% can be worth $5 million. And then you're gifting them $5 million. And it's like, before they were only making $200K a year.
Yeah.
You gave them $250K a year plus 10% of the company. That was better already. Then you were generous later to give an extra 5. If that person's not grateful, then they're just a dick at that.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I
like,
mean?
nah, I mean, like,
I think,
like obviously externally, like, too, they might be like, oh yeah, like, thank you so much, but like, like, knowing, I think once people's eyes open, like, oh, like, there is an opportunity like this, like, people are always like,
well, what will happen through this existing? Right now, it actually did come to mind to me of when I was still culturally appropriated towards entrepreneurship as a major risk, and how fearful that was for me to actually do it. It was hard for me to work on it because I had constant doubt, and I actually constantly thought to myself, if this is so worth it, why is no one scouting me or trying to like do something with it? Why I would give up 50% of my company right now if someone would even give me minimum wage, right? And so that's one, I think, amazing idea. My oldest brother, genius when he's 16. We're becoming more and more knowledgeable to the fact that that genius 16-year-old can build a bigger thing than your veteran 50-year-old, right? Still, he went and worked at like Dairy Queen or something, for minimum wage. Yeah. Now, what if you say, I'll give you 50% more than minimum wage. I'll give you 50%, just try to build something. That's an insanely low cost. Yeah. I know within the first month or 2 months whether or not this person's gonna build a great damn thing or whether they're shit. Yeah. So my risk factor is like $4,000. My upside is similar to how Theo Fellowship's upside was, which is they gave $100,000 to 120 people over 6 years. This is when I looked up these stats. It's been longer than 6 years now. but I just remember these specifically.
What's the cut?
They don't take any cut. It's a charity, which is why they don't scale. Which is what my pitch to the Theo Fellowship was, actually. This is why I know these numbers, because I wrote this. This was my freshman year of college, where I was trying to think of what idea I would pitch to it. So I started doing some research on what other ideas had gotten funded, and then I saw the stat of 120 people have gone through it, and their businesses are worth over $8 billion combined, and not including Vitalik's holdings in Ethereum. So I'm like, if you had a tiny fraction of this would be one of the most insane returning funds ever. And then there's a quote from Theo, and I bet you he never read the application because I feel like I would have got it accepted. I bet it was some dumb intern who passed it. But there was some quote from him like, yeah, we get so many more thousands of absolutely genius people. Sadly, this is a charity, and we can't take any more applicants. And so that's what I wrote, was like, you have a coffee shop, you have the best damn coffee in the world, and you're opening it up, you're giving some of the coffee away, and people would be happy to pay for the coffee. And then you could have the entire city have access to your coffee. But because you won't, like, you just switch the model a little bit, charge a tiny bit for the coffee. You don't even need to charge that much, and people will be happy to pay for it. Then turn this into a business model.
This is something you've been thinking about
for a while now, yeah. What then I did was like, okay, if I want to lead this business, I obviously have to be proof of that model myself. If someone hired me for minimum wage, I need to prove it would have been worth it. You know, so they should have hired me too. I would have taken it. Yeah, I was happy. It actually would have, like, in some sense, I mean, obviously, the stress is nothing once you're past it. But the most difficult part about being an entrepreneur is the self-discipline. To be like, I should work now. Yeah. So if you're on, I could mow my lawn.
Yeah.
Arizona summer heat. My dad paid me $15 an hour when we had a push lawnmower, and I could do that. We had some pretty large lawns. I did those few hours in the summer heat. I had bigger ideas of like, if I just code this thing, it's gonna make like a couple grand a month at least. It's gonna take like 16 hours, and I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Those hours were worth so much more, but because there was so much delayed gratification in it, the ability to make it like, yeah, when I go outside and mow that lawn for an hour, I get like 15 McDoubles. I'm absolutely gonna be mowing the shit out of that lawn. You know? For me, working on this bot thing, I'm like, I don't know if this will work. The first time is the hardest. Once you do the thing, you start hitting the feedback loop. Then the brain goes, okay, I can delay my gratification more. I know this will be worth it. But until you know it's worth it, especially even for the smallest costs, I remember, and I hold on to these like emotional states because I think it's important to like remember that perspective, was that $12 VPN that I needed to buy, or the $10 proxy was like, you know, like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm wasting my time and my money is how it felt like. I'm so stupid, why do I think I can, you know, do this? It might be a little different with all the information online nowadays for people. Yeah. I felt like super alone. I mean, I was in Tucson, there was no other founders. I had like no...
I don't think, I think it's a more recent phenomenon that like anyone can believe that they can be a founder, right?
Yeah.
Like,
if you get into the right YouTube videos, then you're gonna like...
That's another thing too, right? Like, is that something you're trying to target with like Socialverse? Like, you know, trying to like Socialverse, right? Mm-hmm. Like trying to inspire like, you know, future generations with like very specific content that they can watch too.
Yeah, I mean that's the entire like long-term thinking. I truly don't care about dollars because I think they will be useless. Because I think we reach singularity in the next 30 years. And I think, of course, once you reach singularity, I don't think it, if you reach that point, money's useless because there's unlimited capabilities.
Yeah.
If it's a super intelligent AI,
Yeah.
and it could rank us on something, it would be on like our karmic contributions. So it's like I consider myself a karma farmer now in a sense. Now obviously you need capital in order to actually go after these things.
Yeah.
So that's still important, leverage, etc. But directly from thinking about how social verse impacts the world, the vibe packets we consume changes our identities. If you think about, this is what Tim Urban with Wait But Why talks about, what I almost got into earlier. The human colossus is the idea of each one of us is a cell or a neuron in the greater brain.
Yeah.
We make up a bigger organism. Everything in this room and around us and what we kind of live in today, society, was made by us. It was made via our brain and our brain's collective thoughts of this should exist and this can exist. Based on those thoughts, the future is created. We manifest our future. We sometimes think that this reality is just like creating, and of course it will just continue creating, but we sometimes, I think, forget to factor in we are creating it. If we all just stopped and did nothing, reality would stop too, or progress. Now obviously that's not going to happen, but we can influence the direction of that progress, and all of the influence that we do has a greater effect than I think we can realize, right? With butterfly effect, chaos theory vibes. I need to know more about chaos theory before I use that in my evidence, because I realized when I said it, I'm just like referencing a video, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't fully like know the concept. But essentially, then, if your goal is to have the most amount of impact on changing the future, it's changing the vibe packet, the data flow. And right now, the algorithm is based off of what engages people the most, which is going to be a slow draw towards your instant gratification monkey, which will slowly kill hopes and dreams, which then our human colossus is worse off. We lose face, we lose hope. If we can create things to build community around these ideas, I think this will be the biggest DAO onboarder, right? Because what we're gonna do is have spheres have direct links to those Discord or Telegram or whatever things people want, which right now you don't have. It's an extra click away. We can have different dashboards. People can create anything on top of it. And so there's gonna be a new opportunity for community. And I think that's like massive in changing the capabilities. Then like on our side, of course, there is a capability to, and it's a like, how much do we control which spheres are shown? If we are moderating those spheres, we obviously have some power of information control. And this is the thing with social medias in general anyways, is like, right now they're abusing that. Now, I do think, imagine you abuse it, but what you do is you just make it way more good vibes on it, you know? Like, you put one up. I don't think people will complain if we like force a sphere to the top always, which is like good news. And it's just a stream of positive news. I don't think
know what's positive. I guess that's.
Yeah, and that's decided by the community who are voting. So it's based on
like
likes.
A karma model that you were saying, like similar to Reddit or like the upvotes.
Yep. It would be just like that.
Interesting. I guess I'm wondering, do you think like a lot of people have expressed like wanting to spend less time on their phones or less time on social media? You know, it's like, how do you think that plays into this? Because it's like obviously like some companies like Meta, like they think like, oh, like spending more time on your screens is going to be the future, right? That's why it's like, oh, like, you know, the whole like AR, VR, like you're basically interacting with your world, but also having like this whole like social media and everything integrated in it, right? So it's like, but there's a lot of people like against that too, right? And I know people like Praxis too. They're like, oh, like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, like we need to create more physical communities and more.
I think what will happen from the allowance, what our application will help bring forward of an inevitable future, is also what Praxis represents and what is felt by a lot of humanity, which is that the sort of nuclear family homes and now neighborhoods in which we don't have community is so unoptimal.
Yeah.
And I think when we break those barriers and start creating these physical spaces which are lived far differently and can be viewed and continue to be seen from someone who's continuing to exist in the old paradigm, that's what's going to really then push the paradigm farther. And you're going to see, I think we continue to have stories being told. You have Mr. Beast getting different and different.
Yeah.
But we're going to have more and more people who are break status quo. Because they're getting more and more leverage, but they never started from a place of like Mr. Beast just wants to make YouTube videos that are entertaining,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For someone like me, I likely 50 years ago would not have been able to build stuff as much because it would have taken too much action, and I'm more of like a philosophical thinker. But because nowadays there's opportunity to use like work smarter, extra, I feel like that has helped a lot in terms of, right, I was just tapped into a digital global workforce early on, used the resourcefulness of that, because it's far cheaper and you can actually find super good people. That was my original developer for the exchange I did in college. That's what I dropped out from. Indian guy, Piyush, still works with me to this day. He's building the whole back end for Socialverse. Yeah.
He's also the one helping with shelter too, right?
What do you mean?
He also helped with Shelter Foundation.
Just with like funding it, you mean?
Is that what he does?
No, he's had me take his paycheck and like give it to homeless people before, or like buy food.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you did it one time, right? Did you went with Justice, or that was Chris and Justice?
That might have been Chris.
Or, yeah,
Wow.
he's autistic for sure, and like loves carrots too. So we made him a video of them eating carrots while they gave food to homeless people. But yeah, he's like just an absolute like beautiful human, and genius, and yeah, I did make him. I think you might have referenced that because like on my story today, I posted a video of it food that said Peter's John and given to people. I just did that out of like I just wanted to send it to him.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes he's had me pay him in cat gifts too.
Cat gifts.
Yeah.
So not just like straight cash or like.
No, he like
Like
would prefer cat gifts. Because for like he's already rich for India. You know what I mean? For what like so he covers his grandparents. You know. Because it's cheap.
Yeah.
He's
good.
top of the line.
Good.
You know.
That's fire. It's actually super fire. Insane.
Oh, it's weird.
What's going on?
My phone notified me that someone else was arriving somewhere. I don't know if they accidentally like shared me their directions or something. It's like they're arriving in 5 minutes. I thought it was here, and I was like,
What?
but it's in Studio City. Oh yeah, started sharing ETA. Must have been like this is a good talk. See, LA doesn't have as much big thinky vibes.
Really?
Yeah. And that's what one of my friends been telling me recently, is that I need more big thinky vibes around me. I don't have enough people to challenge my ideas as much, you know? So I think it would be good. It's always good.
Yeah. I mean, I think if anyone who builds
Or to,
like
or to see them and implement them. You know?
yeah, or that.
That's the attempt of powerhouses, to bring in external.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Yeah, I feel like, I think building a social media nowadays, right? Like, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people who are like have their thoughts and oppositions to it. Obviously, like we could definitely dive deeper into like how is like the data of the users getting managed, or how are like what's like the business model going.
Yeah, there's a million questions.
And it's like and I feel like people, as long as like if you do those things similar as like existing social medias, like you're seen as one of them too, still, right? So it's But I do believe that with like Powerhouse, for example, like that sort of model, like even at like schools like Harvard, for example, there's like a lot of people that don't know what they want to do in life, right? So it's like people end up in either consulting, investment banking, or software engineering, like tech, right? So it's but like everyone comes in like wanting to be a founder and wanting to make something. So, but I think it's just like, at least in my school, there's a lot of people who are afraid of taking risks. So I think
that's exactly who I hope to influence in the future. I'm trying to find one photo. Do you have that photo? Justice is like, he put the Snapchat text over the spheres.
That's in our group chat.
It's with the three of us. I was just looking.
No, it's in.
I need to save that. Oh yeah, I like this. This is what the spheres page is gonna look like, but
yeah, I just
yeah. Because do people at Harvard use TikTok though?
Yeah, people do.
Yeah. What if there was just a Harvard TikTok?
I think there's an app that's been
a private Harvard TikTok.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be popular, just because there's an app that just recently popped up actually that everyone on campus is using.
Yeah.
It's basically Yik Yak.
Yep.
But for specific communities, so just for like Harvard.
Just for Harvard, right.
And it's like everyone is just posting memes and like it's completely anonymous too, so people are like loving it. Like I have so many friends that are on this because
it's got the community. So there's
it's a personalized.
It's like Barstool's Arizona Barstool. Like they made separate accounts for each college.
Really?
Right. So yeah, I think it actually has appeal. Like my high school would have had its own TikTok channel.
Yeah.
Then that would go crazy. And no one really did make the Barstool for TikTok accounts, which was an idea of mine before. Just too many. But this bigger.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bring it onto the platform.
Yeah.
That's where even the like toolings for it. You actually you can make the feeds. God, this is killer, bro. Check this out. You can add a plugin to like your school's one, and then every day the top voted post gets posted to the school's TikTok account. So it's like a DAO to vote which post goes up, because that currently with Barstool was done through user submissions.
Yeah.
But then it was just chosen rather than chosen by community, which is your best test. And then you drive, if you control those pages, link to the Socialverse community.
Yeah.
Join in the fun. So they're actually doing the advertising for us. And the community has a token
Yeah, fact. Yeah, that's good. Dang, bro.
No, it's all already the plan.
Yeah.
Just about building it. Need more, a couple more smart people on it too.
Do you think how do you think like the other big social media like companies of now are gonna react if like this like blows up, let's say, like like how like always like
Yeah, yeah.
Meta, like
Instagram
when like, Snapchat
added
was
reels.
popping up with like new features,
Mm-hmm.
like they automatically like would like jump in and try copy them, right?
Right.
Like Clubhouse and
Right, you have to think about like so Clubhouse obviously got killed by Twitter Spaces.
yeah.
So you have to think about like, are you fundamentally different? Do what your competition can't do. And so I think with like crypto, that's too much of like a change to add in a crypto wallet. Like that's a big differentiator. Does TikTok add categories? I don't know. I could see Instagram Reels doing it.
Yeah.
But it's such a side dish of Instagram Reels,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be done as well. So, I don't know. I just think it's inevitable that we win. Truly. Which is why, like, because I have other ideas, which I'm like, these are inevitable too.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm picking the best inevitability. And where I also think maximal impact, which is like changing the information highway system of the internet. Has that vibe.
Adding the railways, like we're describing with the city, right? Just
Having greener types of ways to traffic. You don't just have to get on the 405. Take a scooter if you want, or a bike, or build your own vehicle. Create your own carpool, or a bus.
Wow. And bring your people with you.
Yes, and your bus, people can invest in it, and you can make the bus have a membership. You have to pay to get on the bus. There's the subscription model. Like at the end of the day, worst comes to worst, we do become just the TikTok for porn. People use it like OnlyFans. Worst case scenario. I wouldn't like that because affects my conscience. I would have created an even worse trap.
Yeah.
I think it's the bus idea you said is actually pretty interesting. Like I just thought of something where it's like, what if like you had like your like favorite influencers or your favorite people, and you got to ride their bus and see what sort of content they jump around to. So what sort of spheres
You watch their feed.
you watch what they see. Like they go from like
Bro, there's so many good ideas for like adding on top of social. It's crazy once you actually start thinking about it. And it's so undertapped of people actually like going after it. And it's massive, even if you do decently okay. So like one of them with that sort of bus model esque is like a FaceTime, and your feed is synced with a friend.
I think Messenger actually did this.
No way.
Interestingly, yeah. Whenever I scroll up a Messenger, because I use sometimes Messenger to share screen.
But I guess that's what Messenger did wrong is Messenger is used by old people.
Yeah, it's like
who aren't mobile scrollers.
That's the thing. Yeah, like I would
They're
like
desktop scrollers.
I would call my mom, for example, on Messenger just so she could show me her screen so I could tell her what to do, and then I would see it and I would be like, oh, you could see all these videos and feeds basically. But I'm like, who uses this, right? Like no one really uses this feature.
Well,
they haven't really advertised it at all, too. So.
Well, I guess I was trying to think of like why is it not popular? I think it's actually more of like the social status quo of old people. Cause it's like, would you and another older person be like, let's watch your feeds together? Cause Facebook is more of a my timeline's my timeline type of thing with like the people you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to see your friend's feed. Like,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot of people you don't know, and that's a waste. And there's this different cultural weird of like, older people are less like friendly, like, hey, let's spend hours together surfing the internet. You know, that's less of a vibe for them.
Yeah.
If it's like younger people sit and like screen share TikToks or like
Yeah.
lay together on beds and let me show you my likes and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's way more of the vibe. So
Yeah.
I think those reasons is why that feature, which I think obviously sounds like dope.
I think it's less of like their feed itself and more like a feed of just like videos and like commercial stuff, less of like friend stuff. So yeah, but it's still like you wouldn't do that with like you wouldn't watch like Cardi B's whatever with like
I'm gonna take my call at 4:30. So